Good evening and welcome to each and every one of you. I'd like to call this meeting to order today, Monday, November 15th, 2021. This is a regular meeting of the San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated Independent School District Board of Trustees. Madam Secretary, would you please call roll?
Mr. Contreras,
Present.
Lafayette,
Present.
Ms. Haynes,
Here.
Mr. Mesa,
Here.
Mr. Overfelt,
I'm here.
Sir?
I'm here.
Smith,
He's
and
gonna
me,
be a little,
myself, I'm here.
okay, Mr. Smith is gonna be late.
Mr. Smith is still not here. Right here. Okay, we have a forum, sir.
Thank you. Let the record show that we do have a quorum of board members and that this meeting was duly called in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. At this time, we will have opening ceremonies, first with a moment of silence for personal reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Once again, I'd like to welcome each and every one of you. Appreciate all the students that are here and parents as well. We wish we could fill every seat that we have available in this building for our meetings. So thank you again for being here. We will follow our agenda. First item that we have is recognition, item 4. First recognition will be tennis athletes, Mr. Frenchie McCray.
Good evening to Dr. Rios, Mr. Mesa, and the members of the school board. I'm honored to present to you tonight our team tennis head coaches. I have with me today Coach Nolan Pritchard, along with Coach Enrique Santillan. They will introduce to you our exceptional athletes and their accomplishments.
Good evening. First of all, thank you for the support that y'all have given us this season and over the course of the last year and a half to allow us to be able to play the last year. So with further ado, we've had an exceptional year. So right now I'm going to introduce girls. We have Andrea Favela. She was selected as the girls district MVP, first team girls doubles #1, and first team girls singles #1. She went undefeated at singles, 18-0 and 18-1 in doubles, and academic all district. Mariana Garcia, also first team #1 girls doubles, and then she was 13-2 in singles over the year. Alejandra Solar, honorable mention, 2 girls singles. She was 18-0 at singles. Then we have Reagan Trevino, honorable mention, 2 girls doubles and 4 girls singles, honorable mention, and she was also academic all district. Kennedy Trevino, honorable mention, 2 girls doubles, and she was academic all district. Donna Mihangos, second team, 6 girls singles, also academic all district. Rounding out the girls lineup was Annalise Rodriguez and Cassandra Rivera. On the boys' side, we had Maximiliano Camalena, second team, one boys singles, academic all district, and he's a freshman. Senior William Prophet, second team, two boys singles, academic all district. He is also a basketball player, so he's at practice right now. We have Pepe Castaneda, honorable mention, three boys singles, academic all district. Alexander Beatty, honorable mention, six boys singles. And then rounding out the boys lineup was Rogelio Montemayor, academic all district, Ricardo Mejia, academic all district, Jacob Moss, academic all district. This year, our team finished 16-4 with a 4-2 district record. The 4 losses came to teams that advanced to the regional quarterfinals or regional semis. District-wise, we were third place. We were by-district champs and area champs, and then regional quarterfinalists. Yeah.
As always, we are all so proud of our accomplishments that go on throughout the district, whether it's tennis or other sports. Thank you again for all the support from the coaches, staff, students, and parents. Next recognition that we have is cross-country qualifier, Mr. Frenchie McCray.
Good evening, and again, I count it a privilege to stand before you again, twice in one night, to present to you our exceptional coaches and our student athletes. I would like to call your attention tonight to another one of our wonderful head coaches that once again has represented our department and our district at the state cross-country meet in Round Rock, Texas. I want to present to you tonight our cross-country head coach, Coach Vicky Perez.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to recognize Miss Emily on her outstanding cross-country season. This young lady has put in the work, especially those summer miles. I always tell the kids, summer miles bring fall smiles, and she made it to the state meet, so that's why we're smiling. So the summer miles are a big part of our cross-country season, just like I explained. This young lady excelled in the classroom as well, never missed the practice, very committed and focused on what she wanted to accomplish this season. She also has a very great support system, Mr. and Mrs. Torres. Thank you for everything that you've done this season for Emily. It's greatly appreciated. I would just like to highlight her cross-country season. We attended the Uvalde meet where she won first place. followed by the Del Rio cross country meet where she won first place. And then we went to Medina Valley. Medina Valley, there was some more competition. And so that's always a good thing because that challenges our kids. She placed fourth place out of 99 runners at the Medina Valley meet. Then we went on to the Feast meet, which is held in Selma. The Feast meet is a very, very competitive meet. There's individual state runners that run at this meet, state teams. So a very good meet for her to compete at, as well as our team. She placed 17th place out of 197 runners at that meet. Then we went on to the Texas A&M Corpus Christi meet. That is where the region meet is held. She placed 10th place out of 124 runners at that meet. Then we went on to Round Rock, which was called the Hoka Invitational Meet this year. It was run a little bit different this year with the fact that you had to have a qualifying time in order to be entered into the elite races. Well, Miss Emily qualified for the gold race, which was the most elite race at Round Rock. She placed 31st out of 167, and I believe that was her first PR of the season with an 18:52. We also went on to Seguin. Seguin is another very highly competitive meet. She placed 7th place out of 137 runners. And then we held our district meet here at Del Rio High School, which was awesome. I thought that was really awesome. And to have our kids not have to travel to Laredo or to Eagle Pass, it was just exciting to host it here. She was our individual district champion. And then she qualified individually as well with the team to the region meet, which was held at Texas A&M Corpus Christi. She placed 13th overall out of 187 runners. And the way the region meet works is the top 4 teams advance to the state meet, and the top 10 individuals not on one of those 4 teams that advanced to the state meet. So she moved into the 8th individual place to advance to the state meet, where she placed 41st place out of 149 runners and ran her PR of 18:50, which was just really great to see her do that. That's what we want to do, is run our fastest at the state meet, and that's exactly what Emily did. She was also our district MVP, and she made the all-region team. Congratulations, Emily.
You got my coat. You got my coat. In closing, we understand that our athletes, student athletes, could not excel without the help of a lot of entities, and we want to thank you, Dr. Rios, Mr. Messer, school board, to all the administrative, to all the teachers, to all the community. Thank you for all that you do and all the support that you give to Del Rio Athletics. God bless you and have a great night.
Thank you so much, Mr. McCray. Again, congratulations to all our athletes. Next recognition we have is National Hispanic Scholars, Sandra Hernandez.
Good evening, Dr. Rios, Mr. Mesa, and members of the board. At this time, I'd like to bring forward Ms. Patricia Rodriguez, Mr. Barrera, Del Rio High School lead counselor Joelda Espinosa, who will join me in this night's presentation. So this evening, we are extremely delighted and honored to recognize the accomplishments of 13 outstanding students from Del Rio High School and Early College High School, who were selected by the National Hispanic Recognition Program as the 2020 2022 National Hispanic Recognition Program scholars. These students were selected based on their student combined verbal, math, and writing skill scores on the PSAT exam taken in the student's junior and sophomore year of high school. Each year, more than 250,000 Hispanic students take the PSAT, and each year, 5,000 high-scoring Hispanic students take the PSAT and are selected nationwide. We are extremely proud of these students and their hard work and dedication, and they will receive a variety of scholarship opportunities from various universities. From Del Rio High School, we are proud to announce and recognize Jaden Casillas. She is the daughter of Derek and Mona Casillas. After graduation, she plans to attend Schreiner University and major in biology under pre-med and track. John Cheney. John Cheney is the son of Sean and Teresa Cheney. After graduation, he plans to attend Vanderbilt University and major in biology or physics. Marintia Cortez, the daughter of Hector Cortez and Maricruz Sierra. After graduation, she plans to attend Abilene Christian University and major in kinesiology with athletic training. Julian Gomez is the son of Rick and Carmen Gomez. After graduation, he plans to attend Texas A&M University in College Station and major in psychology. His goal is to become a therapist. And next we have William Stewart, son of David Garza and Isabel Stewart Garza. After graduation, he plans to attend Texas Tech University and major in mechanical engineering. We're proud to announce our early college high school scholars, Joelda Alcaraz, daughter of Eduardo and Joelda Alcaraz. After graduation, she plans to attend Texas A&M University in College Station and major in architectural engineering. Jesse Arriola is the son of Diana Arriola, escorted, who is after graduation, he plans to attend the University of Texas in Austin and major in cell and molecular biology. Next, we have Andrea Gallegos. She is the daughter of Sonia Gallegos and Rogelio Gallegos, and after graduation, she plans to attend the University of Texas at Dallas and major in biology and health science. Our next recipient is Hannah Martinez. Hannah Martinez is the daughter of Alberto and Kimberly Martinez. After graduation, she plans to attend the University of Texas at Austin to major in neuroscience. Our recipients, we have Rebeclis Rivera. Rebeclis is the daughter of Monica and Juan Rivera. After graduation, she plans to attend Texas A&M University in College Station and major in pre-medicine. Grace Caroline Vasquez is the daughter of Juan Carlos Vasquez. After graduation, she wants to attend University of Texas in Austin, New York University, or Harvard to major in biology. Kiana Valdez is the daughter of Carla and Gilbert Valdez, and after graduation, she plans to attend the University of Texas at San Antonio and major in nursing. I believe we have one more picture. I believe, yes. We could get everyone back. And we know many of their parents are here this evening. We also like to congratulate their parents on their support and on a job well done with their children.
It's so awesome to have these students tell us where they're going in the near future. And again, their accomplishments. This is the most national Hispanic scholars that I've seen through the years. Let the record reflect that Mr. Ken Smith was here prior to the recognition. He was kind of stuck in traffic. Thank you for being here. Next recognition that we have is item D, 4D, Del Rio High School Band, Ricardo Rios.
Good evening, Dr. Rios, President Mesa, and members of the board. It is with great pleasure that I'm going to be introducing these great young men and women, part of our mighty Ram Band. We had an outstanding season this year. We competed in McAllen in the Bands of America South Texas Regional Championship. And at that particular contest, we came out in third place, coming only, yes, go ahead. We had a school from Northside ISD, Brandeis, come out ahead of us. Another school, Wise, as well, they got second place. And then we got our third place. And then all of the South Texas bands came after that. And so we have these circular trophies right here in the center. Those are some of our Bands of America trophies that we received for making each of the contests that we went to. We came away as finalists. As we moved on through the different competitions in UIL, we were able to qualify for the area finals by making first divisions. And then at that particular contest, we had to go up against bands from the Schertz-Cibolo District, East Central, South San, Leander, Lake Travis, Westlake, Judson, Northside ISD, and Eagle Pass to compete for the, we had to be in the top 4 in order for us to advance and go on to the state finals, just like we did last year. We had the privilege and the honor of being a state finalist a year ago, and we were working extremely hard to try to repeat that feat again this year. We were actually then able to come in 6th place out of all these really top bands. As a matter of fact, the top 3 bands, bands 1, 2, 3, they actually were in the state finals. I mean, as in finals, as in semifinalists in the top 10 in the entire state of Texas. So we had to go up against those guys, and as well as Westlake, and then it was Brandeis from Northside ISD that was 5th, and then we were the 6th. So we were sandwiched in between the Austin schools and the San Antonio schools of all those districts that I just mentioned at the area level. And then we're looking at our accomplishment from down in South Texas. The band that came in right after us, which was Laredo Alexander, they went to their area competition, and they were actually the 1st place down in the South Texas area. Well, Del Rio took out Alexander in the previous competition. So if we were in the South Texas area, we would have definitely been state, and we would probably been the area champ. But because we have to go through the San Antonio schools and Austin mainly, where they have the top, really some of the top bands in the state, it was a little bit more difficult for us to do that. But coming away in a 6th place in this very competitive area was a major accomplishment. So we received this area trophy here in the shape of the state of Texas. And I do want to acknowledge at least our drum majors. We have Christina over here, who's our lead drum major, Christina Fernandez, and assistants Marianne Moynihan and Rosalind Sanchez as well. So let's hear a big round of applause for our student representatives. And I also want to recognize the staff, our marching band coordinator and the man that does a lot of the work in getting our marching band going is Mr. Aldo Morales. Assistant Sydney Bonnell. Our percussion instructor, Mr. Eric Medina. Middle school directors at the 8th grade, Dera Middle School, Mr. Jesse Brijalva. And Mr. Andrew Bassler. And also want to recognize our 6th grade directors. We're not able to be in attendance, Mr. White and Mrs. Creech, who just joined us this year. Also want to thank our dance company instructor, Ms. Diana Rodriguez, and Ms. Monica Sandoval that works with our color guard. And we had some other former students and some contracted workers that came out and they did a great job in helping us prepare our students. At this time, I'd like to have Mr. Morales come up. And directors, if you all want to come up so we can snap a picture here in just a minute as well.
Thank you, Mr. Rios, members of the board, Dr. Rios. So I want to say something really quick. And when we went and got third place at the Bands of America South Texas Regional, we had a clinic with the judges on the Sunday after the finals. And one of the judges from a head band director from a school that is a grand national finalist talked to us and said, "You guys have the legs to be a grand national finalist band. You just need to get your numbers bigger." That's what he said that. And then I just got off the plane yesterday from attending the Grand National Bands of America Championships in Indianapolis, Indiana. And going there, I also visited one of the bands that was rehearsing at that time, and that band director that advanced to the Grand National Finals said, "Wouldn't it be nice to see Del Rio here? Because that is the next step." And just to have amazing directors that have bands that made Grand National Finals as well as state finals and state championships say that of our program is extremely motivating and extremely encouraging. And I just want to thank the board and thank our band boosters. There was boosters and parents all season that were pushing props, pushing coffins up all over the performances and stages and all that stuff that you guys saw at halftime. It's amazing. These kids, the way they performed in finals, they got a standing ovation from the whole stadium at that time. And some of the parents from the Leander School District talked to our parents and said that we were robbed. But that's not for us to decide. That's for the judges to decide. But I think that they were amazing. They missed state by 2, and we're extremely proud of them. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, they did state year again because we only go at 6A every even number years. And so now we were able to, all of us, do state in 2021. So next year, we're back to our normal rotation, which is, again, a 6A state year. And so we will be in area finals again next year, and we will make the state competition next year. I just want to make sure that we are prepared in our off season working. And thank you to the board again for helping us. We have a healthy and great budget here at Del Rio. And we want to thank you for everything you do, the community, all the donations from the banks, from all these businesses. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Rios,
Don't let Mr. Rios go.
can you go back to the podium, sir?
Dr. Rios has some comments for you, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
I know we'll get to speak again because we have fine arts programs and everything that comes up. But I know that you've had a wonderful career in Del Rio, and you are considering doing something different, whether it's this year or next year. I wish you wouldn't, but I just wanted to thank you for all the incredible work that you've done over the past few years, your calm approach to everything, and your dedication to our students. I also wanted to ask you now of the bands that showed up to regional competition. So how many of them showed up in a trailer and how many of them showed up in an 18-wheeler, sir?
Well, sir, everybody shows up in 18-wheelers, and we're the only ones that show up in U-Hauls that say "Visit Missouri." You know?
Well, sir, I know that we had talked about it and we had even priced some 18-wheelers and trailers prior to COVID, and then COVID happened.
Yes,
That
sir.
was unfortunate, but in the next couple of months, I'd like to present the board with some options to consider. And whether it's half this year and half next year, we just need to get serious and working about that. I know you've been pushing on it as long as you have, and just appreciate everything you've done. So we'll be more aggressive about seeing what we can do this year.
Well, thank you very much. I already have quotes. So I will send those. I do. I've been doing some legwork because it's like, did you all see Eagle Pass show up in there? Beautiful. At the football game, I'm like, look at that. Oh my goodness. And
Yeah, but they didn't bring instruments in.
well, thank you very much for letting us know that. And but I will send that those quotes over, and hopefully it'd be great if we could get something for our kids because they definitely deserve it. And we appreciate again all the support. I know we even try to get charters for all these different events for the band to go to, but it's like we ended up actually everybody, including our football team, we all ended up going in school buses on Friday for the playoff game because this has been so difficult to, try to get charters. So it wasn't that we weren't trying to get charters or that you weren't, you said let's take them in charters. Unfortunately, it's these charter companies, I guess, they don't have enough drivers and a lot of different issues. I guess everybody's kind of bouncing back, right? But the support was there, and so we thank you so much, every one of you on the board, all the administration, for everything that they do for not just the band program, but for all of our kids in Del Rio. Because as you saw, all the recognitions, so many Hispanic scholars, that's Del Rio. It's awesome. It's proud. I'm so proud to be a part of this community and of our kids. So thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Mr. Rios, don't leave yet. I think Alice would like to share a comment, but I just wanted to thank you personally. I know it's long hours. Every summer when I start hearing band instruments, they're out there in the sun, like, hot weather. And so I know all the hours you put in. I know that you worked at several campuses where I worked. And it's long hours, but you have built up the program so well that, it's just awesome what the students do and all the support from the Booster Club. It's just amazing to see the team of, young students, parents, community get involved with the program, and the end result is awesome. Always. Thank you for doing a fabulous job, and I'll open it up for any other comments.
It takes leadership too. As long as I've known you, that's what you've always provided for the students from 7th grade on up. So congratulations on everything.
Don't retire.
Wait till you get the trailer.
Thank you. Yes. I'll wait. Once the trailer comes in, then okay, then I'll say at least now I can leave. I can leave in peace.
Thank
But
you.
but thank you so much. And I do want to also thank my incredible team of directors, because it's not just me. I've been turning a lot of duties over to them, and they've worked so hard, and it's a great team that we have. And hopefully, sometimes they get lured by these other programs to go and work, because they see the success that we have experienced, and they kind of say, well, you're doing that in Del Rio. Imagine if you have your 18-wheeler and these facilities and what have you. I don't know where the grass is greener per se. But no, we have a lot to be thankful for. And so thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
We don't have citizens to be heard. We go to item 8, reports. And first item that we have is facilities report update. Hector Chapa. Okay. Mr. Carrera, Israel.
Good evening, Board President Mesa, members of the board, and Dr. Rios. Before I get started, I'd like to just let this board and Dr. Rios know I appreciate the opportunity to come back to work for this great district. I appreciate the opportunity. So I have a short presentation for my project updates. Facilities instruction report. I have the Del Rio freshman campus. We have 2 projects going right now, the restroom renovations and the life skills renovations. And then the Sinisa Hills Elementary project, and then the roofing, which consists of the non-TPO and the TPO. On the Del Rio freshman restrooms, those photos that you see there, the top are the B restrooms, and they have been completed. All they need is a final inspection. The bottom are J building restrooms. We're told that they should be done by this Friday, including a final inspection. And then when we start Thanksgiving break, they're going to start demoing in C restrooms. Del Rio freshman campus, the life skills renovation. They have completed the clear story installation. So what they have left is they'll have to put the roof and then the windows in there to weather seal or tight that building so that Fronteira can get started with their part of the project. The Sinisa Hills Elementary Campus project. This past Thursday, they poured their second pouring. I believe they say that was the largest one that they're going to have in this project. They have 6 pours. We have scheduled a pour for this Thursday for their 3rd pour. So we'd be halfway through the concrete pours, and then we'll have the next 3 sometime in December. The non-TPO roofing, the San Felipe Memorial Middle School, the library is complete with the metal roof. The others that you see there are the kitchen areas, which is the tar and gravel, and they should have completed that today. And then they'll move to Del Rio High School ROTC building on Wednesday, and then they'll be at Early College High School tomorrow. The TPO roofing, Calderon Elementary, they have completed that TPO roofing at Calderon. Today we received a call that they delivered some equipment at Del Rio Middle School at 8th grade, and then they will deliver the materials and supplies during this week so they can get started. Those are the project updates. Do you have any questions?
Board members, any questions? We're good.
If you don't mind, I'll go with the work order right quick. So the maintenance department, ticket summary, the work orders. For the 30-day work orders, we've gone down 69. On the 60-day, we've gone down 129. And then the 90-day, we're up 63. On the technology department, on the 30-day work order, we're down 190. The 60, we're up 46, and the 90, we're down 2. In transportation, work orders, the 30-day, we're down 19, down 60 on the, or down 3 on the 60-day, and down 1 in the 90-day. And that is all the reports I have.
Mr. Messer, if I may.
Yes.
The last time we met, it was suggested that we engage some contractors to do some of the maintenance work orders, and we have, so that was tremendous help, and we'll continue to do that.
Yes.
Hopefully catch up.
Any questions for anybody else? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next report that we have is 8B, Term 2 Combined Attendance and Discipline Report. Michelle Smith.
Mr. Mesa,
Yes.
for President. So she's gonna go over the report, unless y'all just have questions. We have seen some increases in attendance that I shared with y'all during the board update. So it's your wishes, sir.
Anyone have a detailed question or anything? I just want to make a comment. I've seen a tremendous improvement with Blended Academy. You know, a big effort to improve attendance. And on the opposite end, Cardwell, I don't know what is happening with Cardwell, which is, it was up in the 90s, it's in the 80s. But we have the personnel at Cardwell to go out and look for the students if they're not coming in. I just would like to see some improvement there. We were so proud that Head Start was always at the lower end, and then they improved so much one year that it stayed up in the 90s, and I'm talking about ahead of everybody else. And now it's gone down to 89. So just some work that needs to be done. Anyone else on discipline or anything else? We're good. Thank you so much. Item 8C, stop loss update by Deb Garcia.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, members of the board. Later tonight, we will request approval for stop loss insurance and a PO for $312,095. In the original memo, it was a different amount, and that amount included all the contracts. That will come to the board next month for approval for the POs. But tonight, we amended the board memo that is there next to your seat. So it's going to be for $312,095. So Brown and Brown solicited proposals from multiple stop-loss carriers, which included Tokyo Marine, Atlantic Specialty Insurance Company, HM Life and Companion Life, Aetna, and United States Fire. Stop-loss insurance protects the district in two ways. First, with the specific stop loss. This protects the district from a catastrophic loss on a single individual within the plan. So this could be either an employee or dependent. The district has selected $600,000 as the specific stop loss level, which simply means that the insurance company will reimburse claims on a single individual who exceeds $600,000 cumulative for the plan year. The maximum reimbursement for specific stop loss is unlimited. The next way that stop loss protects the district, it's through aggregate stop loss. This coverage allows the district to know in advance the maximum liability for the plan year. It protects the district from an unusually high total amount of claims by all participants for the plan year. And in the last slide, we'll show you what that amount is. The coverage is expressed in terms of liability factor that when multiplied by the number of participants, which in this case we're saying 1,400 in a given month, creates a maximum monthly liability for 1,183,000 for the district. However, the maximum reimbursement for the aggregate stop loss is $1 million. When they're evaluating the proposals, they look at three components, which are the premium for the specific stop loss insurance, the premium for the aggregate stop loss insurance, and the aggregate liability factor. So here you have the different carriers. We have Aetna from 2019. The specific levels stayed the same. It has specific stop loss premium for each. And these amounts are per employee per month. And as you can see under the Aetna proposed, this is how much Aetna was going to charge for this year. And it's $978.96 versus the US Fire for $845. So here's a comparison. So for Plan 2022, United States Fire Insurance, the specific stop loss is $260,965, where with Aetna, it was going to be $273,473. The aggregate stop loss with US Fire is $51,130 versus Aetna for $54,726. Then the total for US Fire is $312,095 versus Aetna, $328,200. The aggregate stop loss, like we mentioned earlier, with US Fire is $845 versus Aetna, $978, which means that the district's maximum monthly loss with US Fire would be $1,183,000 versus $1,370,544. Now, in this amount, we want it to be less because the less that amount is, the least liability for the district.
Mr. Messer, can I expand on
Yes.
this last piece? This last year was a particularly difficult year for the district and really anybody that has health coverage. But because of the maximum monthly liability, every month that we exceeded the maximum monthly liability, that just means every month where we got more bills to pay than what our maximum liability is, the carrier reimbursed the district some funds. So in February, at the latest, hopefully in early January, we'll be able to provide you, for the first time in a long time, we've never collected, I think that the first year I was superintendent, we collected some money from stop loss. This will be the second year, as many years as I've been superintendent, that we will be able to provide a report that says this year's stop loss reimbursed the district X amount of dollars because we exceeded our maximum liability. So you buy stop loss insurance and you always hope you don't need it, and then but sometimes you do. This last year was one year that we definitely needed it, and we'll get some money back. So it's good to have, and we're pleased with Brown & Brown. They did due diligence and they found somebody. We expected our insurance to go up just because we had so many more claims, but it didn't go up too much from last year, and that's a good thing.
Any other questions?
I know insurance, with the many years that I've served on the board, is a very complicated issue. And sometimes it's difficult for employees to understand, why we switch from one insurance company to another. And unfortunately, there's some gaps in between, and so we're the ones that get the phone calls but we try to explain to employees that the reason we're doing this is we're trying to continue to pay 100% of their insurance. And for the last 2 or 3 years, I've been saying that eventually we will have to pass on that cost to employees. But it is a disadvantage when we have to switch companies. And sometimes, we do not sign up all the providers here locally. And so it becomes frustrating for us as board members because we get those phone calls and we try to explain as best as we can. So at one point, we have to realize that we will have to pass on those costs to employees. And I have spoken with many board members across the state. A lot of them do not provide 100% of the insurance. There's so many districts that are not able to do that. We're fortunate that we're able to do that, but it becomes a hindrance sometimes when we switch from, one insurance company to another, and there's gaps in between for the employees that are having to go to providers for any certain type of specialized either procedures or medicines. And so I just want to, make sure that I vocalize those issues because we hear it. We get the phone calls. And again, we're just fortunate to be able to do this again this year, but realizing that it is an expensive item that we're providing for employees. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Orfeld.
Piggyback off that. When in December, when you bring us the report for
Purchase order.
the purchase order, can we also in November or in the December meeting have a presentation on all of the local providers who are signed up under the new insurance? And I am requesting that the representative from Brown and Brown be here, please.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, when Ms. Garcia and I visited with him on the phone yesterday, he said anytime we need him, he'd come down. Unfortunately, today he was committed to another meeting, but he'll gladly make that trip. And we'll continue to provide updates to the board as we sign up more of the local providers. I think we're just down to a handful, and I know that Ms. Garcia has a meeting with one of the providers here in the next week. So we will both continue to provide you updates as well as ask Mr. Greg Coldaway to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Orfeld. Thank you. Right.
Thank you.
Next report we have is item 8D. HB3 presentation, Ida Gomez.
Good evening, Dr. Rios, President Mesa, and members of the board. As part of House Bill 3, we know the importance of early literacy in kinder through third grade. Tonight, we're going to have a presentation on House Bill 3, one to refresh your memories. It did start 2 years ago, and another one to just give you an update as to our status. First of all, the Texas Reading Academies, the requirements for the Science of Teaching Reading, which is called an STR exam, and the Reading Academies were established in 2019 by the 86th Texas Legislature with the passage of House Bill 3. We're very familiar with House Bill 3, but it did pass both these initiatives. The Reading Academies and the STAR certification, though, are very different. They both have different requirements. The STR certification exam, that actually demonstrates a beginning teacher's proficiency in the science of teaching reading. The Reading Academies are an 11th-month professional development program that continues the learning and builds on knowledge of the STR, but in a school environment, in an actual classroom. Together, these programs provide teachers with the fundamental knowledge to teach reading and writing and to effectively apply the knowledge in the classroom setting. The goals of the Texas Reading Academies, as the commissioner put out, are to increase teacher knowledge and implementations of evidence-based practices to positively impact student literacy achievement. It's to provide educators with the essential skills needed to ensure our children develop a strong foundation in reading and writing. It's to create a shared framework with common vocabulary and to provide competency-based professional development. The slide that you see in front of you is actually put out by TEA. I'd like to point out that across the state of Texas, in every district, this exact same training in the same structure, the same format, the same curriculum is being taught by our coaches. So this is something that the commissioner has envisioned to improve early literacy. TA puts out the curriculum, they put out the modules, they train the coaches, and then across the state of Texas in the same format, it is all being built. So when we think about that, it's a very powerful tool. So when we look at their 4 components, they start with learning. They're talking about scientifically based reading instruction with effective practices. They move on to collaboration with authentic collaboration and giving and receiving feedback from their peers. There are 60 individual teachers and principals this year in this cohort. They meet at the Ramada Inn. So if you can just imagine 2 days of training, they get information and then they have to collaborate, then they have to practice and they get more information. And this goes on for the entire day of day 1 and then repeated day 2. And I'll go over the modules in just a moment. But the collaboration is very powerful during these days that they actually get to meet and be in the trainings. From then, there's a time for reflection. This is when the participants get to reflect on the instructional practices and routines, and they actually get to review some of the instructional materials and resources that are being provided. Finally, they get to go back to their classroom after those 2 days, and they get to apply the strategies. During that time, right after the training, there's usually a 4 to 6 week window where Ms. Gonzalez will schedule an observation per teacher and come back and do the follow-up coaching. So it's a very busy cycle, but it is a cycle. It's training, it's a classroom visit, it's coaching. Then it's training with a classroom visit and coaching. In between, there are office hours and other support systems in place. So who is required to get the certification? We know that all kinder through 3rd grade teachers must complete the Reading Academy by the year 2022-2023. In addition, all our principals in elementary campuses must complete it also by that school year. This includes our special education teachers, our dyslexic teachers, our reading specialists, anybody in an elementary campus who is in a K, 1st, 2nd, or 3rd grade classroom. And again, please note that the Reading Academy structure, the curriculum, and the requirements are all put together by TA, delivered by the reading coach in the exact same manner across the state. We're very proud of our current cohort. This year, we have 51 kinder through 3rd grade teachers, including special ed teachers, dyslexic therapists, and we have 5 principals. Our 4 bilingual academies and North Heights principals are all participating in the program this year. The remaining principals will participate next year. All of this is led by Michelle Gonzalez. This is her 3rd year of being our coach. She's been highlighted as in Dallas, she's been highlighted as an effective coach, and we're very confident in all her training and all her delivery. Very interesting, our first year, our cohort was face-to-face in person. Our second year last year, it was all remote. This year, TA has taken on a different approach. It is a combination. So while they're in person, they also have their devices. They have time to actually complete some of the remote instruction during that day. So each year it's been just a little bit different, and that's the program that we have this year. Again, it is a two-step coaching structure. It consists of the classroom visit and the debriefing, all during our ELAR time, English Language Arts. The teachers are observed twice in the fall, twice in the spring. They're coached and debriefed. Ms. Gonzalez is able to provide really real-time coaching during the classroom visits with debriefing, focusing on the strategies that they just learned. So I just went through the training for 2 days, and now she's going to come review those strategies. And then the teachers do have to submit their artifacts as part of the TEA submission. We do have Reading Academy 60, which is office hours that TEA has recommended, and we do implement. You'll see here that the entire program is consistent of 12 modules. These modules, however, are broken up into sets of 5. So modules 1, 2, 3, and 4 were actually completed the first time they met for 2 consecutive days. The next time they met for 2 consecutive days, which was in October, they did modules 5 and 6, which included oral language and vocabulary and phonological awareness. They will meet again in January to complete modules 7 and 8, which are the pre-reading skills, decoding and coding and word study. They will meet again for 2 more days in March to go over modules 9 and 10, which is reading fluency and reading comprehension. And finally, they wrap it up with modules 11 and 12, which is the written composition and putting it all together. In the meantime, in November, the teachers have to actually record themselves with a phonological awareness lesson in their classroom that Michelle has to review, and that is a submission to TEA. We follow what's called, board members, a comprehensive cohort. That means we can have from 30 to 60 participants. It's with a combination of online and in person. They do receive extra coaching support. You do need to pass the Reading Academy. They must complete a pre-test and a post-test, and they have to pass it with an 80% or better. They attend live training sessions. They document and verify attendance and completion of requirements. The participants do receive a digital certificate from TEA stating that they have completed all the requirements, because these certificates are good across Texas. So once the teacher earns it, she has it and can move into another district, or vice versa. They can come in with their certificate already recognized by the Texas Education Agency. This one is an example of the certificate. You will notice that it is issued by the Texas Education Agency up here in the corner. It does say Texas Reading Academies. It is dated. And again, it does say that the teachers have completed all the coursework, passed the test with an 80% or better. This was cohort 1. You'll see that they were in person at the Ramada Inn. Cohort 2 was all remote. Those are all screens. Cohort 3, we're back to in person, but the program has changed. In cohort 1, all the homework and activities was done after the training during teachers' own hours, after school, on the weekends. And now in cohort 3, much of that is embedded into the daily, the 2-day trainings. So it's part of the actual training to give them time to complete their assignments. So board members, that is a presentation and update of what our reading academies look like, what the requirements are, where we are. We're in year 3. At this time, I believe in kinder, first, second, and third, we have a handful of new teachers who are on emergency certification, so could not go through this program. You do have to be certified to go through it, but we will easily meet the requirements of 2022, 2023 next year. Very few teachers left. Any questions?
Yes, Mr. Smith?
So how do you meet that goal on a recruiting or onboarding? So if a teacher doesn't have that and they're coming in this certification and we're in that, whatever it is, 2023, whatever that timeline is, what do you do with that? They
I'm
gotta
sorry,
have that certification to be hired for a kindergarten teacher, for example, or you
So
onboard them and then they've got to commit it within the.
that is correct. What we are hearing right now, Mr. Smith, is that after 2022, 2023, the district will have to have a plan of action as to how they're going to train those teachers. By then, you're not going to have a cohort of 60. So if we do have a handful of teachers, we will be required by the state of Texas to produce this training. It may just not be funded the way or devised the way that it currently is. But we have been told that we have until then to get everybody certified. We all know that we will have new teachers coming on board. We
So it
will
won't-
have to
it
have a
won't
plan
be
of action.
It won't be a recruiting requirement. It'll be something that we as a district will help them through.
Correct. Yes, sir. It will be our responsibility.
Now, also, teachers going through the teacher preparation program are being provided this training. So it's only teachers who haven't been in a system that would meet that. And we hope that other districts across the state are being as diligent as we are, and it really will be minimal at that time.
I just want to comment and say that it's the best thing that has happened. I know I've mentioned, for example, that in secondary, we do have people that have emergency certification. Let's say political science major, and they go into teaching high school. Sometimes they can do a great job, but when it comes down to reading at the primary grades, you don't have the standard certification, the phonemic awareness, and how to teach reading. So it is a valuable program, and a lot of, I guess, requirements that Commissioner Mike Morat put in place for improving reading scores throughout the state, because reading is quite low. And so this is the best training we can give our teachers. It's amazing. I know that Michelle was recognized, and you want to remind us what that recognition was?
Yes, sir. Last year, they started highlighting coaches, what they
Michelle
call reading.
Gonzalez. Michelle Gonzalez.
Michelle Gonzalez. They started, TEA, under the Texas Reading Academy, started highlighting coaches across Texas who were implementing this. Michelle was the first female and the second person to be recognized across the state of Texas for her work. That comes from her submissions, from her 100% completion rate, and from 100% of our teachers passing that exam, being well prepared to pass it with an 80% or better. So she's outstanding.
Amazing.
Yes, sir.
It's great work that is happening, and I'm so glad that we have it in place. And that was a great question, Mr. Smith, because and Dr. Rios, I didn't realize that the new teacher certification program has already embedded that training in place. So there'll be some that possibly have not gone through it, but very few.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before we go on to the next agenda item, Mr. Ressa, it's not part of the agenda, but I think I see Councilman Jerusalem in the building. Yeah. So I just wanted to just tell the board how appreciative we are. We had some traffic issues at Buena Vista, and the council did pass an ordinance here in the last meeting to allow for the one-way traffic from Amistad up to Quail Creek, and that's going to help tremendously. The level of cooperation that has developed here over the last year between the city and the county and the district is phenomenal. So, Bruce, if you'll convey to the council just how appreciative we are and how much that's going to help. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next item that we have is item 8E, strategic plan presentation. Ida Gomez.
Thank you again, Board President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. This is the presentation that you all participated in last week. We would like to present it now for our community and any viewers who are watching tonight. Building a marquee instructional program for 21st century learners, our students. For the last few years, we have been working very hard on the foundational and marquee programs that you see on your screen. We have brought in the collaborative planning, the planning protocols. We have built 4 bilingual academies in the district. We have improved our sheltered instruction teams in secondary. We have provided for RTI, response to intervention. We've embedded RTI planning days in our calendars. And of course, our co-teaching programs for math and ELA in our secondary schools. Our marquee programs that were just a vision years ago, just a few years ago, are our early college high school and the successes that they're having. Our CTE, our center, the countless of certifications, many times outperforming the state and the region, and the success of our blended academy, and the multiple students who have been able to graduate because of the vision that this district had. So now it's time for the presentation of our vision for tomorrow. We are looking at marquee instructional programs as follows. A vision to build a new tech high, designated high school. A P-Tech expansion. We have 10 pathways already with many certifications, but we want to continue to expand it. An elementary STEM designation at 2 of our elementary campuses, and a K-5 dual language program for the district. We'll start with the new tech high designation. Building a new tech high school reinvents teaching and learning to ensure that all graduating students are truly prepared to meet the needs of the new emerging economy. This would include project-based learning opportunities. This would include environments that nurture learners' voices and choice while developing global thinkers. This would be a process. In year 1, we would begin with our 6th grade and our 9th grade cohort. As those students moved on, they would continue in 7th and 10th grade, and then 8th and 11th grade. So you can see the progression as the years go by. We would not implement anything 6-12 at one time. It would be a gradual release. Next is a very exciting initiative, the P-Tech expansion. P-Tech stands for Pathways in Technology, Early College High School. It's a global education model that offers students the opportunity to develop skills and competencies that translate directly into competitive careers. San Felipe del Rio CISD currently has 10 programs of study clusters. We aim to expand the education and training cluster. We currently have students who are very successful in our early learning platform. And that at the Del Rio High School, we have students under the direction of Mrs. Linda Corbell, who are very successful. This expansion would now start focusing on dual credit. So as the students take those courses, they earn credit. But because we're not in an MOU with the Southwest Texas Junior College or another university, the students are not earning dual credit. So when they leave high school and they want to become a teacher, they have great experiences. They've been in the program, they've been to the campuses, wonderful background knowledge, but they go into college as a freshman student, and it takes 4 years for them to graduate as a teacher. With this, we could actually grow our own students. We would give them the 2 years of dual credit in the early learning, the instructional practices, and the outcome courses for teaching and training. They would earn an associate's degree in education. We would utilize the TEA vetted education and training curriculum. And of course, we would have work-based education. Upon graduation, many of these individuals could graduate in as little as 2 years and come back as a fully certified teacher. The next instructional program that we'd like to present is the elementary STEM designation. San Felipe del Rio aims to create 2 TEA STEM designated elementary schools by converting 2 elementary K-5 schools into 2 elementary K-6 schools. By adding the 6th grade, we would start qualifying for the STEM designation. At this time, the proposed campuses are Roberto Bobby Barrera Elementary STEM Magnet and Dr. Fermin Calderon. Furthermore, the K-5 dual language program, kinder through 5th grade and elementary. San Felipe del Rio CISD aims to offer a new K-5 dual language program. In the dual language setting, students are taught literacy and content in 2 languages. The partner language is taught for at least half of the instructional day. Dual language programs can foster bilingualism, biliteracy, enhance awareness of linguistic and cultural diversity, and high levels of academic achievement through instruction in 2 languages. The proposed campuses for the K-5 dual language programs would be the Ceniza Hills Elementary School and Buena Vista Elementary School. This next slide shows the timeline progression in year 1, which is this current year. We're presenting the information. We're having discussions. We're just talking about it. In 2022, 2023, that's when the planning and the development of all the programs would actually take place. You see there that in year 3, that would be the first year of implementation. That is when the Ceniza Hills Elementary School would open, and that would be in 2023, 2024. From there, for the next 3 years, you just see the 2nd year of implementation, the 3rd year of implementation, and the 4th year as it progresses. So what are the next steps? The administration would request an approval for an RFP or an RFQ. Once we approve somebody to facilitate, right, once they meet the qualifications, this facilitator would actually engage community and stakeholder meetings. They would present the information. They would meet with these committees and share the plan. But in addition, they would gather feedback from this committee, from the stakeholder group, on the programs and other initiatives that they would like us to consider. Of course, we would present this information, but the feedback always comes with what else and what other vision do you have for Del Rio? And finally, it would provide the vision for our 21st century graduates and the marquee instructional programs that we would actually decide on to move forward. So at this time, are there any questions?
Mr. Smith?
I don't know, questions, more comments. Now, when you go back to slide 2 or your slide 2. I talked a little bit about this to Dr. Rios a couple, 3 weeks ago. But this is a pretty modest slide, is my point. I think that we've got a lot to brag about, that this doesn't just bleed those accomplishments, right? You know, and so what I'd like to understand is, you know, how our district rated inside the state and where we rate today. Take 10 years, over the past 10 years, and just build a slide that talks about how our district performed against other districts 10 years ago, 9 years ago, 8 years ago, and so on, to really highlight what these programs and
Yeah.
facilities and rollout of programs did for the district. Because I think the community really, it's cool, right? They drive down Main Street and see CTE building. But what does it really mean for the district? And how much of a quality education are kids really getting from the fact that we put that there, right? And the same thing for early college and X, Y, Z. Anyway, I think this is modest. The vision around the balance of this and taking the district to the next level, awesome stuff. I support it. It's great. Appreciate Dr. Rios and the staff for looking out and continuously improving the district, and these are great initiatives to do so. So that's all I've got.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
And I think it's wonderful. The future looks so bright. When I think of dual language, for example, they'll be more able to secure opportunities for employment, especially in our area here. When we talk about P-Tech, everything is going towards technology. When we start talking about our students being able to get an associate's degree and then coming to eventually help us as teaching staff is amazing. All these things look great. Of course, the certifications that are coming from TTE are awesome. And it's just a great way to look towards the future. I thank all the staff that has worked on this project, on key programs. And it looks very promising for the future. Just want to say that. Anyone else want to add? Thank you so much. Yes. Mr. Wu.
I just want to add that as we're looking into the future, and it's always great to do the dual credit and think futuristic, because we always have to be planning ahead. And as we're planning ahead, like Mr. Smith mentioned, it would be nice to do that comparison and where we were and where we are and where we're headed, which would give us a three-way basic comparison. And along the same lines with the dual credit, it would be nice to see where we are with AP classes, because I know that the high school also offers AP classes, because not all students stay in Del Rio. And sometimes the classes that are offered here in dual credits might not be accepted out of state or where AP classes are. I've also met recently, I submitted something to Mr. Gonzalez that I picked up at one of our trainings. I haven't had the opportunity to meet with him to see how we can also look into the future to grow the CTE program, thinking futuristic wise. So that's also a plus as we're looking at what they are doing in CTE. So, and as far as higher order thinking skills with our plan moving forward, the STEM program is wonderful. I did mention to Dr. Rios that there are programs out there in STEM where our campuses can apply to submit proposals for the campus to present at the different entities in the areas of science and technology. And that would be great for our district, because as we're moving forward, we're also showcasing what our district can also do. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Wu. Okay, next item we have is the consent agenda. There's minutes from meetings, there's purchases, financial statements, there's donations. There will be an item that will be pulled out, and that's item F1. Consideration to approve purchase order over 25,000 with Amistad Heating and Air Conditioning in the amount not to exceed $29,945. RFP 20-12, funding source, general funds, for the purchase and installation of two 5-ton air conditioning units at Del Rio Freshman Life Skills Building. And then Dr. Rios, on item G4, I think there's some information there that needs to be corrected. So I think at this time, Dr. Rios, you want to give us an explanation on G4?
Yes, Mr. Mesa, thank you for the opportunity. Item G4 was the item that Ms. Garcia referred to in her presentation. We listed the total amount of 1.3 million for all the insurance purchase orders. But today, we're only asking the board to specifically approve the United States Fire Insurance Company, and that amount is only $312,095. So we'd just like to correct the purchase order amount. It's not 1.3 million, it's $312,095. That's the only correction, sir. So when we present for approval, we'll be presenting that revised amount,
So the amount is $312,095?
$95.
Okay. Okay, in the meantime, we have donations galore, and Ms. Gonzalez, would you go ahead and
Brown Automotive Center, $200. Chick-fil-A, $325. Roberta Bobby Barrera Elementary STEM Magnet School, Board of Federal Credit Union, $100. San Felipe Memorial Robotics Team, Life Touch Prestige Premier Program, $843.35, Garfield Elementary. Chick-fil-A, $150, Garfield Elementary. Huckleman Realtor, $50, Irene Carville Elementary. Tara Vasquez, case of water, box of goldfish crackers and Rice Krispies. Estimated value $25 to Buena Vista Elementary. Cesar Escamilla, one gift card, estimated value $180 to Ruben Javier Elementary. Isabel Montalongo, school supplies, estimated value $3,000 to Buena Vista Elementary. Itopia, 2 pairs of sunglasses, 10 flash drives, 2 Bluetooth charging stations with estimated total value $400, San Felipe Del Rio CISD. The Standard, 2 $50 gift cards, 2 notepads, pens, and web camera covers, estimated value $120, San Felipe Del Rio CISD. Edward Jones, gift basket containing 5 drinking metal cups, estimated value $50, San Felipe Del Rio CISD. Money Concepts, 1 gift certificate from Juice Solutions, estimated value $50, San Felipe Del Rio CISD. Airmed International, 2 gift bags valued at $50, 2 t-shirts, Halloween cup, notepad, baseball cap, and candy, estimated value $100, San Felipe Del Rio CISD. CrossFit of Del Rio, 1 month CrossFit membership gift certificate, estimated value $100, San Felipe Del Rio CISD. MetLife, 2 MetLife lanterns, estimated value $50, San Felipe Del Rio CISD. La Verde Regional Medical Center, blanket and tumbler, estimated value $15, San Felipe Del Rio CISD. Fort Duncan Regional Medical Center duffel bag, estimated value $75, San Felipe Del Rio CISD. Del Rio Cares duffel bag, estimated value $13, San Felipe Del Rio CISD. 2 $25 Amazon gift certificates cards, 2 water bottles, 2 reusable bags, and 2 Guardian microfiber cleaning cloths, estimated value $60, San Felipe Del Rio CISD. Texas Community Bank basket full of hand sanitizer bottles with clips, estimated value $50, San Felipe Del Rio CISD. Emily B. Porter, 100 pieces of various art supplies, estimated value $100, North Heights Elementary. Promised Land Church Food Bank, 12,000 disposable face masks, estimated value $1,000 to North Heights Elementary. Baptist Children's Family Services, school supplies, estimated value $500, North Heights Elementary. Amistad Heating and Air Conditioning, marquee valued at $13,437.19 to Lamar Elementary. Ivana Redondo, 1 white and blue round mum, estimated value $50, Irene Carville Elementary. Sonic, 300 10-ounce cups, estimated value $30, Del Rio High School trainers. Carlos and Veronica Robles, 4 cases of water, estimated value $20, Garfield Elementary. Banco Internacional de Alimentos, disinfectant, face mask, and water, estimated value $2,500, Garfield Elementary. Marina Soto, 4 cases of water, estimated value $14, Garfield Elementary. Walmart, 2 pallets of various school supplies, Garfield Elementary. Texas Department of Public Safety, 1,205 hand cases, 1,205 cases of hand sanitizer, San Felipe Del Rio CISD. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. We take the time to read these because again, we acknowledge the people that donate to various programs throughout the district. And so we want to say thank you to those individuals and businesses that donate, contribute to all our efforts. So thank you again, Ms. Gonzalez, for taking the time to read. At this time, I'll ask, again, the consent agenda, one item will approve all items. We have table F1, and we have provided some corrected information for G4. Any other questions on Ms. Rutherford? Yes.
Is there a specific reason we're tabling the air conditioners right now?
The only reason we're tabling it, sir, is that we did not get all the supporting documentation that would be required to be transparent in the process. So we intend to bring it back as soon as we can.
And then the other question I had, and I'm very thankful to the people who donated. Some of them stand out, and I just want to make sure as a district we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. When you've got one individual that donates $3,000 worth of school supplies to an elementary, another one $2,500 worth of disinfectant face masks, Walmart 2 pallets of school supplies. We definitely appreciate it. I just want to make sure we as a district aren't coming up short in providing for our because campuses used to have supply budgets, right? Or do they still do money built into their budget to have supplies on hand?
Still do.
I just want to make sure we're still good there because really appreciate 2 pallets or $3,000 worth of stuff. That's awesome. And then the other thing is from item 10 through 21, all the stuff that was donated to the district, was that, what was that going to? What was the district going to use? Those things were like Bluetooth chargers and flash drives and some other stuff in here. Just want to know where it was ultimately going to go. Or if that was for something we did as a
Step up so they
health
can.
fair. Okay, like stuff that we gave.
Yes,
that
we
they
had,
gave to us and then we gave away at the health fair.
yes, sir, it was like drawing prices
Oh, okay, cool,
for attendance.
awesome. Good deal.
Thank you, Mr. Rutherford. I just have one question. We're still recognizing businesses with the business recognition program that TASB has.
Yes, sir, that'll be next month in December.
Next
We'll have a presentation.
Okay, I think that's the time that we could recognize businesses for doing so much for us. I know that, for example, on the vaccines, students that got the vaccine, they were given a backpack, and I'm sure that those items came through programs of that nature.
Yes, sir. That specific one came from the county, the city, the hospital, and the school district.
Sure.
But yeah, there's been a lot of support.
Any other item that we need to pull out from consent agenda? Okay, then I'll ask for a motion for consent agenda to be approved. Mr. Smith, is there a second to the motion? Mr. Orfeld,
Second,
all those in favor?
with the stipulation for item 4.
Yes,
Okay.
stipulation with, again,
G4.
F1 and G4 corrected. F1 was tabled. So all those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. We go on to administration. 10A, consideration to approve first reading of TASB Policy Update 118, affecting policies CFD, CQB, DFE, DP, EHAA, EHBC, EIE, FDE, FEA, FEC, and FFG, FL local. Again, this is probably the most policies that we've ever had in one meeting.
Good evening, Mr. Mesa. Thank you, Dr. Rios and members of the board. I promise I will be brief in this presentation. The changes that I am bringing forward this evening is a result of the changes in Update 118 from TASB, which are based exclusively on the most recent legislation, the 87th regular legislative session. The recommendations that I will be sharing for you, just very briefly, in CFD local, which is Accounting Activity Funds Management, is to align the adopted amendments to the Financial Accountability System Resource Guide, which is FASRAG on activity funds. In CQB local, which is Technology Resources, House Bill 1118 and Senate Bill 1267 changed the provision regarding the cybersecurity training requirements. And based on Senate Bill 1696, reports of breaches has also been changed. The revisions to DFE local, which is termination of employment, resignation. The recommended edits to this policy are guided by the recent Commissioner of Education proposal. Just states that a contract employee provides a resignation to a supervisor who, if they have not recommended that who have been submitted the resignation to a supervisor who has not been designated by the board, to accept the resignations, that they would submit it to a designated person, the superintendent or designated by board action. In DP local is the personnel positions. This particular policy updates based on Senate Bill 179, which mandates that the board adopt a policy requiring the school counselor to spend at least 80% of their total work time on duties that are components of the comprehensive school counseling program. In addition to that, you may have noticed also a recommendation edit for the removal of the number of years of experience from a principal. This was only to streamline the list of principal qualifications, not to remove it altogether. Again, it was a recommendation from TASB and asking that we look at the number of years of experience in a job description. In EHAA local, this was prompted by House Bill 1525. And this one imposes the requirements based on human sexuality curriculum materials, including board policy on adopted curricular materials. Now, this will be some changes that will be enacted promptly, and which includes a board resolution for the SHAC to convene and to make recommendations to the board at a public meeting, as well as the confirmation. And so these are established procedures that will be put into place before the board takes action on curriculum. Revisions to AHBC local, EIE local, and FL local are all impacted by House Bill 4545. EHBC local reflects the references to accelerated instruction and accelerated learning communities. EIE local removes the outdated provisions on the grade advancement testing. And FL local changes the reference from grade placement committee to accelerated learning committee. In FDE local, and FDE local is admissions, school safety transfers. This recommended revision reflects a change from House Bill 375, which amends the offense of continuous sexual abuse of a young child or children to include continuous sexual abuse of a disabled individual. Recommended revisions to FEA local addresses Senate Bill 289, which creates an optional excused absence for a student who is at least 15 years old to be absent for 1 day to obtain a learner license and for 1 day to obtain a driver's license. And the last one is FEC local, which was enacted by House Bill 699, and this creates the exception for absences resulting from a serious life-threatening illness or related treatment and revises the provisions on the attendance committee's consideration in the best interest of the student. Are there any questions regarding any of these policies?
Sandra, yes, Mrs. Webb had a very appropriate question for DP, policy DP.
Yes.
Yes, under DP local, we struck out the 3-year experience as a classroom teacher for principal qualifications. And as I was looking at TEA section 241.60, it indicates to have 2-year credible years of teaching experience for principal certification. And as I looked and researched other school districts, all the other school districts, and I looked about 5 or 6 of them, all had 3 to 5 years experience. So I'm asking that we don't strike that out, and if we want to lower it, like you said, streamline it, do what TA is asking and do the 2-year. But there has to be some sort of teacher experience before becoming a principal or an assistant principal.
Dr. Rios?
Mr. Mesa, Ms. Webb's correct. Prior to bringing the policies for the second reading, we will consider if the board wants 2 years to be in line with the state, or if they want to leave it as 3 years. But there will be a requirement. Also, in the next reading, we'll bring changes to DFE local, indicating that the resignations don't only have to be submitted to the superintendent, that the chief human resource officer can also receive them, just so that we get that out of the way and don't have it back. So those will be 2 small differences when we bring them back for a second reading.
And I think several things before we end the discussion here. The one where the resignation is turned in, I think there's an appropriate edit there that it says that if they mail it, it has to be certified mail, or certified mail, or what is the other one?
It's just postmarked
The-
by the last date.
No, I think there's something else. Either certified or no.
That, if I may, Mr. Mesa, she's looking it up, but if I remember correctly, the district has to accept the day it was postmarked as the day the resignation was turned in. So even if we get it a week later after the deadline because of issues with the post office, then it's still adequate.
Sure.
Just checking.
Yes, I have it. So certainly they can submit it in person, and a prepaid certified or registered letter of
registered.
resignation.
That's what I was looking, registered or certified.
Yes.
Okay, and the other question I had is, I know that there's a new teacher certification program, there's a new principal certification program, so I don't know if anything has been built into that regarding the 2-year versus the 3-year.
Not into this policy at this point.
Then I would suggest that I don't know how the rest of the board members feel, but I think that 3 years would be a good point for any teacher wanting to go into the mid-management certification program to principal. Dr. Rios?
I think that we'll certainly do and reflect the board's wishes in policy because it is a local policy. The only issue with that is that if we were ever able to recruit campus principals with experience somewhere else, and they only have 2 years of teaching experience, then we wouldn't be able to hire them. Let's say somebody's been certified in Austin, and they worked there as an administrator for 5 years, or Round Rock, and their certification program only required, or the last entity that hired them only required 2 years, which is what the state requires, then we wouldn't be able to hire them, even though they're experienced. Now, I think that if we stay in line with the state, we as a team of 8 or the board themselves can just indicate to administration that they favor people with more than 2 years teaching experience. But I think that there will be that case when there's administrators who gain valuable experience outside of the district, and then we won't be able to hire them. For that reason, and only that reason, I would encourage that we be in line with the state. At the end of the day, we still make our own recommendations for appointment, but that's just my recommendation.
There's several things to consider here because normally the progression is, we select from our teaching staff to move up to administrative staff. The other thing is, what is going on through the certification program, SBEC, which is the standards are being raised for principal certification. We heard this from Commissioner Morath himself during TASB presentations. So that is a valuable part of the training that is going on. So I can see your point, Dr. Rios, but it is the wishes of the board.
So just, tonight, just first reading, right? And then, so it can still change by a second and be approved, right? So if we're pushing for it, say 3 or whatnot, we can approve, or it can be approved tonight as is, and then come back to us with that revision.
Yes, your board policy committee meeting can be reconvened, and certainly those discussions and recommendations can be brought up at that point so that we can edit the drafts.
Okay, great. Just as long as we can get input. Okay, you want to read the recommendation?
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration of the Board of Trustees approve the first reading of TASB Policy Update 118, affecting policy CFD local, accounting, activity funds management, CQB local, technology resources, cybersecurity, DFE local, termination of employment, resignation, DP local, personnel positions, EHA local, basic instructional program, required instruction, EHB local, special programs, compensatory accelerated services, EIE local, academic achievement, retention and promotion, FDE local, admissions, school safety, transfers, FEA local, attendance, compulsory attendance, FEC local, attendance, attendance for credit, FFG local, student welfare, child abuse and neglect, and FL local, student records.
For the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Orfeld, seconded by Mr. Smith. All those in favor? Motion is approved unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Next
sir.
item that we have is 10B, consideration to approve the renewal of an interlocal cooperation agreement between San Felipe Consolidated Independent School District and County of Valverde, in estimated amount of $41,000. Funding source, ESSER 2 grant for COVID-19 contact tracer. Sandra Hernandez.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good evening once again. I'd like to bring forward the interlocal cooperation agreement between the San Felipe Del Rio CISD and the County of Valverde to renew and extend the interlocal agreement for contact tracing services for our students who are affected and district personnel who are affected with COVID-19. So in this revised agreement, we are looking at covering last July 2020 through next June 30th, 2022.
Questions from board members?
On my end,
Mr. Smith.
so thank you for the clarity. So this is kind of after the fact. So, I guess my only request is to assure that that somewhere in that May timeframe, we talk about this subject again, or just assume that it rolls through in July of next year.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Anyone else? Any recommendation, please?
Yes, it is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the renewal of the interlocal cooperation agreement by and between San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated Independent School District and the County of Valverde in the estimated amount of $41,000 funding resource ESSER 2 grant funds for a COVID-19 contact tracer.
With the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Mr. Smith, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? Motion is approved. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 11A, consideration to approve disposal of instructional materials that are no longer applicable for district implementation. Superior Text will provide the service free of charge. Ida Gomez.
Thank you, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. We currently have 27 pallets of instructional materials that are classified as materials no longer in adoption. We have consumable workbooks that are no longer meeting the district compliance needed, and we have sample materials that the district did not adopt. All of this is in our warehouse. The pallets are consuming valuable space. According to TA guidelines, the district may dispose of, donate, or sell these materials. Per an email from TA, if we are donating the out-of-adoption materials, then TA approval is not required, and our district may follow local policy. Superior Text, we worked with them in May of 2020. If you remember, they picked up many pallets about 18 months ago. At this time, they have offered to pick up the pallets free of charge. Any questions?
Questions? No questions. Recommendation?
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve Superior Text to collect and dispose of instructional materials that are no longer applicable to district implementation.
Heard the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Mr. Contreras, seconded by Mr. Smith. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 11B, consideration to approve the 2021-2022 application for other waiver in-person instruction and submit to Texas Education Agency. Ida Gomez.
Yes, sir. President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board, now that we have returned to face-to-face instruction, we collect funding based on the students being in school. If we have a scenario where we would have a student who is requesting homebound services, but because of their illness or because of the severity of them being home, they have requested remote instruction, the only way to get funding is to submit a TA waiver per student. We currently have 2 students in that predicament who have requested homebound services, but they want them done remotely. They are not asking the teacher to come into the home to provide the services. With that scenario, we are requesting your approval that we go ahead and submit to TA an application for each of those students. Once approved, we can collect funding for the remote instruction. This is a brand new process.
Questions? Mr. Smith?
So this is like for every occurrence, we've got to submit a waiver. So this is for 2. But if another one goes into a program, you got
Correct.
to do another waiver, is that?
That is correct. So the recommendation tonight would be that the board approve for us to file a waiver if an extenuating circumstance was to arise. That TA has made it very clear that these are far and few between approvals.
So I guess the point that I'm trying to make, should it be verbalized in here? This is for actually 2 waivers, I guess?
As I understand it, Mr. Smith, I think this is gonna be for the remainder of the year.
Yeah, but what but I think it's very restrictive. And so it has to occur every time another student goes in. And that's the way I'm understanding the description.
No, the board approves it. We have to submit an individual application for every child, but the board approves it today and only once. Now, the district has to turn around and submit individual applications, but we won't bring a waiver request for y'all again for the rest of this year. But I want to be clear, it's only for students who need homebound services, like they do every year, for different reasons. But we have to apply on the student's behalf, individual student. But y'all only
No,
approve.
thanks for the clarity.
I think, I don't know how the other board members feel, but at least if we could get quarterly reports as to how many we have, I think would be good for us to know, to understand at least every 3 months. If we could find out how many are actually on a waiver, I think would help.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm totally in favor.
Now, to be clear, we'll have more than 2 students or 3 students on homebound services, but only a small number of them will request services online.
And Ida, correct me if I'm wrong, but there could be a student that will return before the year's out
That is correct, sir.
to face-to-face
That
instruction.
that is correct. We do have multiple students on homebound, special ed and general ed. They're all face-to-face, but we do have 2 requests now for remote.
Okay. So, recommendation.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approves for the 2021-2022 application for other waiver and submission to the Texas Education Agency for each student who is approved for remote instruction.
You've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Amy Haynes, seconded by Mr. Smith. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 12A, consideration technology and operations. Consider and take possible action authorizing superintendent of schools to sign an agreement with AEP Texas Incorporated to construct a utility segment or easement and right-of-way on district-owned property. Israel? Got it.
Good evening, Board President, members of the board, and Dr. Rios. We come to you this evening requesting that you give the superintendent authorization to sign an agreement with AEP Incorporated to construct a utility easement and right-of-way on district-owned property. What they want to do is take that existing electrical line and reroute it along the west right-of-way line of De La Rosa Street, beginning at the intersection of US Highway 90. This would remove the electrical line overhang on that neighborhood.
Questions? Yes, Mr. Orford.
Did they give a start time on that? Those are some big power lines that run through there. So are they gonna do that during, once approved, do you think they're gonna have to do that during school time or wait till the summer? Or did they give a estimated time when they were gonna try and do it?
I don't have that information right this time, but I can get that to you.
Oh, just curious. Because I know if we had heavy construction right there on that street, would be a nightmare.
Yeah, they've always helped us and worked with us. So cool. We'll provide that. We'll ask. We'll ask for the timeline.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I think to
Mr. Smith?
Josh's point is, that traffic congestion. So not just the timeline, but how that we've got some cooperation to navigate the traffic because it's already congested.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Recommendation, please.
It is the recommendation that the Board of Trustees approve the superintendent to sign the agreement with AEP Texas Incorporated for the construction of utility easement and right-of-way on district-owned property.
Heard the recommendation from administration. I will entertain a motion for approval. Motion made by Mrs. Webb, seconded by Mr. Smith. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 12B, consideration to approve a change order with Frontera Construction LLC in the amount of $2,450.76. Funding source, committed funds for the restroom renovation project at Del Rio Freshman School. Israel Carrera.
Again, good evening, Board President Mesa, members of the board, Dr. Rios. What happened during the construction, it was discovered that the restrooms in Building J did not have hot water. For the City of Del Rio code compliance, hot water is required.
Questions from board members?
So what are you doing to mitigate that?
We
Running 4
are
miles of
adding,
pipe or- Excuse me. Sorry, go ahead.
we are adding, 4 tankless water heaters to that J bathroom restrooms.
4 tankless water heaters. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Recommendation, please.
It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve the change order with Frontera Construction LLC in amount of $2,450.76 for the restroom renovation project at Del Rio Freshman School.
With the recommendation, I'll entertain a motion for approval. Motion made by Mr. Smith, seconded by Ms. Webb. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 12C, consideration to approve the schematic design phase with Go Euro International LLC funding source, committed funds for the conversion of North Heights Elementary to the district's pre-kinder early childhood center. Israel Carrera.
Again, Board President Mesa, members of the board, Dr. Rios. I think earlier this week or last week, we sent you a board update, and I have laid at your table, at your desk, an updated schematic design showing that we would cover the corridors from building A to G. And then what we added that was not on that update was that we're going to connect building B with C with a covered corridor also.
Questions from board members? Israel, where it says existing basketball court, that's a gymnasium, isn't it?
No, sir.
Hmm?
The existing basketball court is between the cafeteria and the gymnasium. Just an area of cement there.
Okay.
The only addition to the schematic design as it was previously presented to y'all is that now there's going to be an enclosure there between the edge of the basketball court where the gym and the cafeteria connect with an existing walkway. They're just going to build a solid wall there so that you can't come in from the outside. That would entirely secure the perimeter.
Anyone else with a question? No further questions, recommendation?
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the schematic design phase with GO ERO International LLC for the conversion of North Heights Elementary to the district's pre-kinder early childhood center.
For the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Smith, seconded by Mr. Contreras. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 14A, Human Resources. Consideration to approve the conversion of a bilingual ESL strategist to an assistant principal at Del Rio Middle School, 7th and 8th grade. Ida Garcia.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, members of the board. Due to a temporary reassign in leadership at Del Rio Middle School 7th and 8th, administration is requesting to convert the position of bilingual ESL strategist to an assistant principal at Del Rio Middle 7th and 8th. And this reassignment is probably going to be for the rest of the years. Any questions on this?
Okay, and Dr. Rios, for the rest of the year or from now on?
If I can clarify, we're converting the position of the strategist. There's no person in that position, but we need to be able to fund the position. That's why we're converting the position. Now, as long as the 7th and 8th grade stay under the leadership of one principal, we would keep this position so that we can provide the support that we had in the past. When I arrived in Del Rio superintendent, Del Rio Middle School had one principal and 4 assistant principals. Then we divided the campus in 7th and 8th grade, and at that point, every campus had a principal and only 1 assistant principal. So there were still 4 adults leading the campus. Now we're back to having Mr. Jorge Alberto Jurado as the sole principal there. So we want to return to that model with 4 adults, which would be the current 2 assistant principals, the dean of instruction that we will recommend today, and now this 4th position that we're asking to convert. So all we're asking is just to return to the original model to appropriately support the principal in running the campus.
Questions?
I just got one minor question. The funding, the 2 positions are similar in pay structure. And couldn't be much different if there's difference.
All 4 positions, the funding will be the same.
Be the same. Okay.
Ms. Webb?
I don't have a question with the conversion. My question to Dr. Rios is, are we going to be in need of a bilingual strategist to assist with those students that are, or that have exceeded the 2-year exit level? 2 to 5 years exit level. Are we gonna need that position, or are we gonna look at something else for that?
The short answer is yes, we are going to need support for the students that have gone beyond the 5 years to exit the program. But we are bringing a recommendation to the board in the next 30 to 60 days for support and personnel. But the first thing that has to happen is that we have to provide for our board a way to reduce the vacancies. So we've been working with Ms. Maribel Flores, and Mr. Jorge Jurado, and Ms. Cindy Salas, who's not here tonight. They're having a college night at the high school on how to reduce vacancies by tightening up the schedule. So that when we do bring support for the bilingual students, we don't create a vacancy that then we're not able to fill. So we want to do all that together. And at that point, hopefully we will have individuals that can support specifically the bilingual students. So it's a bigger plan. Long answer to your question, ma'am. Yes, we will bring back the ESL strategist, but only when we can provide adequate personnel for it.
Anyone else? Recommendation, please.
It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve the conversion of our bilingual ESL strategist position to an assistant principal at Del Rio Middle School, 7th and 8th grade.
Thank you very much. With the recommendation from administration, entertain a motion for approval. Mr. Orfeld, seconded by Mrs. Webb. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. The time is 8:09 p.m. We're down to item 17, closed session. We're going to closed session permitted by pursuant to 551.074 and 551.071 of the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. At this time, we are in executive session. Thank you. Okay, the time is 9:34 p.m. We're reconvening into open session. No action was taken in executive session. We're down to item 18A. Consideration to approve the personnel report to include the following: new hires, district vacancies, retirements, and resignations. Isaiah Garcia.
Good evening again. It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve the district vacancies and following new personnel. Juanita Reina, fourth grade teacher at Lamar Elementary. Annalisa Sulaika, ELA teacher at Del Rio Freshman School. Oscar Martinez, social studies teacher at Del Rio High School. Pedro Ortiz, biology teacher at Early College High School.
You've heard the recommendation from the administration. Motion for approval from Mr. Smith. Is there a second? Mr. Orfeld? All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 18B, consideration to approve the position of multimedia production coordinator for the Technology Integration and Communication Services Department. Idea Garcia.
It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Willard Jenkins as multimedia production coordinator.
Further recommendation from the administration, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Smith, seconded by Ms. Gonzalez. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 18C, consideration to approve the position of coordinator purchasing for the finance department. Idea Garcia.
It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Juan Gallegos as purchasing coordinator.
Further recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Overfeld, seconded by Mr. Contreras. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 18D, consideration to approve the position of Dean of Instruction for Del Rio Middle School. Idea Garcia.
It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Gloria Castañeda as Dean of Instruction for Del Rio Middle School, 7th and 8th grade.
Further recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Smith, seconded by Ms. Gonzalez. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 18E, consideration to approve the position of coordinator of bilingual ESL compliance for the bilingual department. Idea Garcia.
It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Ana Karen Severa Aguilar as compliance coordinator for bilingual and ESL department.
Further recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mrs. Webb, seconded by Mr. Contreras. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 18F, consideration to approve the position of assistant speech language pathologist for the special ed department. Idea Garcia.
It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Olga Tovar as speech language pathologist assistant.
With the recommendation, there's a motion by Mr. Smith, seconded by Mrs. Webb. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 18G, consideration to approve the position of educational diagnostician for the special ed department. Idea Garcia.
It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Megan Epstein as educational diagnostician.
With the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Amy Haynes, seconded by Mr. Smith. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 18H, consideration to approve the Director of Special Ed for the Special Ed Department. Idea Garcia.
It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Monica Luna as the Special Education Director.
With the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Ms. Gonzalez, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 6, and 1 abstention. Motion carries by 6 votes and 1 abstention.
Thank you.
Item 18I. Board consideration and possible action pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071 and Chapter 2254 of the Texas Government Code regarding retention of Pearson Legal PC as contingent fee counsel to handle litigation and any other dispute resolution processes and procedures regarding property claims against district insurers and all related parties arising out of damages caused by hail/windstorms on or around April 11th, 2020 and April 28th, 2021. Israel Carrera.
Good evening, Board President Mesa, members of the board, Dr. Rios. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees discuss and take possible action pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551-071 and Chapter 2254 of the Texas Government Code to retain Pearson Legal PC as contingent fee counsel to handle litigation and any other dispute resolution process and procedures regarding proper claims against district's insurers and all related parties arising out of damages caused by the hail windstorm on or around April 11th, 2020 and April 28th, 2021.
You've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Smith, seconded by Mrs. Webb. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One abstention. Motion carries by 6 votes. There being no other items on the agenda, is there a motion for dismissal? Adjournment? Mr. Orfeld, seconded by Mr. Contreras. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Just wanted to announce that Dr. Rios has a new suit today.
Thank you.
I had to say that.